It's 11:16 now, and we're back with our weekly News to You segment, saying goodbye to an American icon, a still unsolved mystery at St. Bonaventure, and the day the Statler ceased being a hotel. It all made news this very week in decades past. Dave McKinley looks back to when those stories and more were all news to you.
10 years ago this week, when Khalil Mack was still playing linebacker in college for the University at Buffalo, the Senecas opened Buffalo Creek, the permanent casino which replaced the temporary one they'd operated at the same site for 6 years, although once lofty plans for an added hotel there have yet to materialize. And Uniland announced plans to take this corner of Delaware and Chippewa and transform it into the city's newest skyscraper, which turned out pretty much the way they said it would when we first told you about it this week in 2013. 20 years ago this week.
The list of attendees that gathered to say goodbye was a virtual who's who of entertainment and politics.
Yeah, I think he's probably the most beloved American of our time.
This week's News to You pop quiz, which icon of American entertainment was being mourned by so many?
You have to just be joyful that he was with us for as long as he was.
This week in 2003. Remember, this was back when you could still find a working payphone, and if you were lucky, maybe one with Claudine standing next to it, or a Krispy Kreme donut shop locally. And when Madonna, before graduating to profanity-laced speeches musing about blowing up the White House, created a controversy with Smoochgate, when she laid a couple of smackaroos on Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera during a live broadcast of the MTV Music Awards. Back in Buffalo, Oneida announced that a decade after purchasing Buffalo China, it would end production, and more than a century-long run of producing dinnerware for clients the world over this week in 2003. 30 years ago this week marked the 30th anniversary of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Modern African-American leaders held another march on Washington, hoping to draw as many participants as Dr. King's had, but only got about a third as many people. President Clinton skipped the event to golf in Martha's Vineyard, which did not please some.
Mr. President, when you come back from your vacation, there's another vineyard. There's another vineyard in the hood and the neighborhoods across this nation that needs jobs, justice, and peace.
And in Western New York, a great mystery was unfolding in Olean.
The FBI dusted for fingerprints where the painting hung.
This painting, as seen in this book and attributed to Rembrandt, was stolen from St. Bonaventure University.
We don't have a big city security system.
Valued 30 years ago at over $1 million, it has never been recovered since being lifted from the university's library this week in 1993. 40 years ago this week.
I personally am outraged about it.
And there should be some action on the part of our government.
The voices of Buffalonians joined a worldwide chorus of dismay when a Soviet plane shot down Korean airline flight 007, killing 256 after it drifted into prohibited airspace, and the Soviets treated it as an intruding U.S. spy plane during the ongoing Cold War. And the no vacancy sign went up permanently at the Statler, which had served as Buffalo's largest hotel for 60 years, after a group of Kuwaiti investors who bought it announced the place that once advertised a room and a bath for $1.50 would be closed. Its 400 rooms converted to offices. It would be just one of many failed revitalization plans over ensuing years. And though 4 decades later, the newest effort to bring it back to grandeur is underway, there are no current plans to make any of its upper floors into hotel rooms after the last one was rented here this week in 1983, when it was all news to you.
All right, so Patrick, who do you think this funeral was for?
I'm going to say
20 years ago.
Johnny Carson.
You're like in the same wheelhouse.
Oh, Bob Hope.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
gosh. Okay.
You were close. You were super close. That was 20 years ago this week. This was for Bob Hope. He actually died a month before that memorial service. He was 100 years old, but they didn't have the memorial service till this week, back in 2003. Former presidents.
Oh my gosh.
A-listers. All to remember.
He was, I mean, like, I appreciate what you said. He and Johnny Carson were kind of in the same genre.
Right.
But, you know, Johnny was on television, so was Bob Hope. Bob Hope and his travels going overseas and all of his, you know, the
USO
USO tours that he went on. And anyway, all right.